So John, I'm going to hand over and John's going to give you that practical, what you can do with that data, what's that gold mine of data that you've got, and how we can help you, and how they can help you unlock it. So John, after you.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome, and thank you, Sapphire, for putting this on. I was in the New York meeting just on, I think it was Tuesday. So we had another session there. It's a bit of a speed date. We're going to cram a lot into, about data and how you empower data. And so I may rush through a few things, but we'll be here along with my team to address any questions. But quick, my background, I'm UBIX. I'm the chairman and CEO of the company. My background started at Pricewaterhouse. I was in mergers and acquisition advisory, corporate turnaround, bankruptcy restructuring, forensic accounting, and auditing, right? Got my CPA. And then the .com started percolating, and I jumped out to a company called Website Story, which I ran finance, operations, and IT. And I was the 20th employee, first hired in executive outside of the founders. And we took that company and pioneered what is now Adobe Analytics, right? So we grew them up to be a public company, merged with Omniture, and then sold to Adobe for a couple $2 billion. And so a very fun journey, but it really got the bug of analytics and the power of what analytics can do in a variety of different industries. And so, I've also been a public company CFO and COO in 2 different companies. And my success there was really tied to how I harness data, not just for financial reporting, but operationally, right? So getting into a few examples here. Can you guys hear me if I step away from I'm loud, so sometimes. But if we look at demand planning, and so for the top one we looked at, this was a procurement analytics for a large meat producer based out of Chicago. And we saved them 2.4 cents per pound using analytics and AI in the procurement process, right? They're a proteins company. They buy commodity proteins and other things like that and make them into specialty meals that are sold in retailers. And so we got to a $2.6 million a year savings for them just in the first use case, right? So we talked about those 6X type ROIs that were talking about automation anywhere. This was in that same use case, was right around about 6 times ROI, and it took us about 90 days, right, to get to that level of proficiency. Demand forecasting, 42% reduction in closeout sales. This was for an apparel company. And so when you look at, apparel, it's hard, right, to try and forecast and understand demand, and closeouts are, we all take advantage of them, right? And so we were able to reduce closeouts by 42%, which had a global impact on that customer by 6% increase to their gross profit. Millions and millions of dollars, right? And then we talk about intelligence solutions. You'll hear me talk about our center of intelligence, which is anyone in the finance organization kind of understands that, is that I have a bias because I come from that area, that we are the center of intelligence, right, within that space. Other departments, such as marketing, like Jack, may disagree. But in this area of center of intelligence, we looked at increasing 23% of upsell revenues that had a $10.7 million impact, right? And so we do a lot of customer intelligence projects, because customer intelligence, you start there and you understand exactly what's going on within your customers, and then you ask it different questions. What is my retention? What are my issues with churn? What are the buying behaviors of my customers? What are the fast-moving products? All these are questions that you just ask, but you start from a foundation, right? And then marketing solutions. Everyone markets, right? I have a very strong affinity to digital marketing and other things like that. We have some of the largest companies out there in the world are our clients. And the reason that we're different is we have this thing called dynamic audiencing. And so we'll show you here how we build, a workflow to do AI and analytics. We'll also show you how we build an application. But one of the things to understand is that we do real-time predictions, right? Whether that's real-time inside of a session of a website, we can actually change the content that's being served up to you visiting a large, let's credit card company, right? We have a lot of financial institutions that are our clients. And so you look at that where you can actually have that dynamic interaction. the conversion rate is significant, right? When you can interact with someone, you can see that they're about to abandon, you can actually change that outcome, and the conversion rate changes significantly. But you can also draw that same capability with UBIX inside of, let's say, a credit and collections process. That instead of them going through and making the wrong credit decision, I'm getting real-time intelligence right inside of SAP that says, this one's a credit risk, right? Do not grant credit, et cetera, right? With a lot of knowledge behind it. So you're empowering people in a real-time world. And that's really what UBIX is about. We also have all the applications and other things like that, but looking at also omni-channel analytics, this is both in supply chain as well as marketing, and it's huge returns, right? So everything we do has very significant returns. There is no greater return than data-driven businesses and data-driven investments, right? You can get there quicker and faster than any other investment you make in your business. And so IDC, kind of agrees as well, and so looking at some of these other items, 39% improved customer experience, 33% improved employee efficiency, 92% report organizational-wide benefits. But the thing that I put up here in the last two slides are the obvious benefits that people get from our technology. But what I want to talk about is what that means to you. You have unique problems. You have things that you can evolve within your journey that data can help, right? And so what I want to talk about is your story, right? And so UBIX is built very flexibly to solve any data problem, right? And so we can build any model that is associated around your problem and work with any data, right? And so that's a very broad swath, right? But we designed it that way intentionally because what we care about is your problems, right? And what we want to show up here in the next presentation I do at the SAP conference or with Sapphire or whatever, I want to tell your story, right? I want to talk about what are those things that impacted your business and gave you that significant ROI. Okay, so other things, higher productivity, increased collaboration, cost of value optimization, accelerated time to value. Those are all obvious things, right? Of course, IDC agrees. I'm not going to read this to you because I'm trying to cut out a few minutes. I ran 5 minutes over last time and they scolded me. So I'm trying to be a good boy today. So you'll help keep me honest. But this here, what they're talking about here is how the cloud computing is almost infinite computing, right? Allows you to work with enormous amounts of data, right? And of course, AWS, Google, Azure, they all tell you, well, you just work with us and this all just works magically. Anyone that's gone on that journey knows that it doesn't just work magically, right? These are hard engineered systems. Millions of decisions you can make and make them wrong, right? In that journey, and that doesn't matter because AWS and Google and others still get their money, right? Because you've been building it out on their platform, right? But UBIX is out of the box in the cloud, leveraging all of this capability, and we allow you to actually achieve this. Same day, first day you sign up, everything's deployed, right? And then from there, you start connecting to data, you start solving problems. And so we have something that is referred to as infrastructure as code, right? So even in a disaster recovery situation, we have an issue, we can be spun up in a whole different country on cloud with all of your stuff as if it never shut down, right? And that is a hard engineered win, right? That people spend millions and millions of dollars trying to accomplish. But you can get it through one purchase order with UBIX, right? So these type of things, Chris already stole my thunder on the 70%, but there is so much value, untapped value in that data. There is more value and ROI tied to your transaction level data, than I even care to talk about. It is so untapped, and that's why there's so much low-hanging fruit when we come into an organization to drive value, right? And it feels miraculous, right? But that's the thing is that people say, well, it just can't be that true, right? It is, right? And it's not an indictment on how you've conducted yourself as business. You didn't have these tools, right? The only other one that I'll jump into here is, let's say you've now gone on the journey of data science. You're now hired a team of data scientists, all this stuff. You also have to hire, cloud engineers, DevOps people, architects, computer scientists, and data scientists, right? So, but the data scientists, IBM did a study that said 87% of models that have efficacy never reach production, right? If they don't reach production, it's like they never existed, right? And that's hard, and it's not condemning data scientists or anything like that. It's hard work, right? But they're doing this out of a system. They're extracting data. They're working with partial amounts of the data, not the full data set, because their laptop or desktop can't handle the full data set, right? So you also get decreased optimal results of the model, right? Because you're not able to see a bigger picture. This is a very important statistic because in UBIX, you'll see that we control the whole end-to-end process. Productionizing is one click. Since we connect into all the data, we know all the workflows that happen to transform that data to train that model and build that application all within one system. We can one-click productionization. So 100% of your great innovations reach production. So with all the other challenges and other things like that, I've kind of talked about these, so I'll save a little bit of time here, but the challenge in finding scarce resources. So we employ, as you can imagine, a lot of data scientists, right? And they're hard to find, right? They're expensive, hard to find, and hard to retain. And so there's also things that we've seen, we're in the process of right now, we won an engagement where the company spent $37 million on a failure. $37 million, right? On failing to drive, is that 10 minutes left? Okay, I'll speed up. So UBIX is the only no-code system out there for end-to-end data science. This is just depicting as far as our organizational center of intelligence. This is an area that allows us to talk to any data. We naturally connect into any one of these systems, and that we basically can work across functions, right? Any data source that you want to connect into, we can connect in very quickly. And we're going to jump through, this is 7 minutes. It's a bit rapid, so it'll get a little bit mad here as far as when we run through. Okay, here we go. So just going to, secure login, cloud-based technologies. Data space is our data store. It's a big data store. You have, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect into an SAP by design connector, put in my credentials. And then the nice thing here is what you have on the left is that's the entire database schema of SAP by design. And I'm going to tell it the frequency that I want, et cetera. So now that data is going to come into data space based on what I select here. So you don't need to pull in all data, right? You can pull in the data that matters to the solution that you want to develop, right? But you have access to all data, right? So at any point in time you want to come in here and add and talk to different data points, you can. And it shows the entire attribute structure, entire database, and you have each one organized by a workspace, right? So I drill into workspace and a data set. I see all of the data set organized. I also can go in and look at the data to see exactly the data within that system, search it, sort it, play with it, however I want to do it within our data store. And then organize all my other data sets by workspace. Now I jump into model space, and model space is our no-code data science development platform. And all of these things, you can see that they're selecting the different users. It's all permission, so it's collaboration. Across the organization, you can collaborate in a given workspace. So if you're working with multiple team members, they can all collaborate within one workspace. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my data set, and I'm going to pull in, no data is moving. We don't move any data. We're indexing what data we're going to work with so that inside the workflow next is going to basically showcase all these different data attributes. If I want to add more, I just come back here and add those, and now I can walk through another workflow within the system. So it's all been added on the left, and now I'm going to enter what we call a solution type or a solution. And I'm going to walk through, and this part right here, it's going to run through a bunch of different steps. I'm going to really talk about the first one, and then it's going to go into kind of hyperspeed. So this is an end-to-end process that we built around pipeline intelligence, And so what we've done is we're leveraging a function, and a function is any type of algorithm. So we leverage the power of the open source community. We reduced all the functions down into all the algorithms down into functions, similar like to what you have in Excel, right? And so you now have a function that you can call in a no-code environment. And so the steps as you walk through, we're adding different actions. Each step is an action that we're taking on data. And so in this example, we're pulling things from, leads, opportunities, quotes, sales orders, and invoices, right? We're also pulling in targets such as sales target by sales rep, all the different quota items, right? So that it's all being pulled into the system, and then we're stepping through a workflow that does all of those, because anyone that's done this in Excel or tried to do this even with data science, there's a lot of code that you're writing and a lot of different things. And the thing that you see here is that in Excel, you run out of this customer right here it's $150 million a year. We're working with 5 years of data, right? And the full runtime here was about 25 minutes, Chuck, right? Building it from beginning to end, connecting into the data, working through the data, and building a pipeline intelligence process, right? And so this last step here, I've now created all of the different new data. It's all in one nice rectangular data set that I can productionize that alone and have that feed off of a bunch of other workspaces because it's a nice, clear data set that can have a bunch of other artworks. But here now, the next step is I'm going to build an application. So I jumped in from the same place into our no-code app builder. And so I'm going to map the data that I care about. This is just a pipeline widget. So everything's just, you select your layout, select your widgets, pull in your data, build your different navigations. And then so now it's pulled in all of the different data set. And you can select from what widget. If you don't like this look, you pick different ones, right? It's completely dynamic in what you want to work with. And so it's going to run through here about building an actual application, right? And so what we're doing that's important here is that this is a way for BI to work on top of AI, right? And data science workflows. So in the canvas that we walked through before, we built out the data. We created the data. And that could be a predictive data. That could be here where it's more kind of creating a nice rectangular data set across pipeline intelligence. And now I'm going to build out a way for my teams to interact with it. And that, with the teams interaction, they can go into, once we productionize it, which will here be in about a minute, is that I can bring it to life and it's immediately available to my organization, right? I can change permissions. And so that's where we talk about our center of intelligence. Our center of intelligence is allowing whatever organization, whether that's the office of the CFO or it's IT or whomever, you can bring things to life that the organization now has access to benefit. But this is just the BI layer on top of AI, right? We also talked about the real-time nature, right? The biggest aspect of change within an organization or the adoption challenges within an organization is change management. Having people force them to change and adopt something new. Within UBIX, you can actually feed intelligence and models into a process. They're working in the exact same system. It's just now more intelligent. And so one-click productionization. Behind the scenes, all of the data pipelines from source all the way through that workflow has been built. And now I've got a fully built application that I'm interacting with that has been brought to life within 25 minutes, right? With 5 years of data. And so it's a powerful capability, but the piece that I really want to drive home in my remaining time here is this is just one example. We have a huge line of intelligence line products, right? That can give you a guided hand to bring those things to life. And this is our, the thing that always challenged me as a COO, CFO, was that I'm a problem solver. That's what I've devoted my career to. I like solving problems. It's a real passion, right? So I built a platform that makes it easier to solve problems, right? And so But what the pain point that I always had that drove me to innovation was that I had solved so many problems that I was constantly spending time solving the historical problem solved. Exporting out, running scripts, all this other stuff, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, right? Horrible, right? So, but what you do, because none of our organizations have infinite resources, right? And we're not going to go, well, hey, we solved all these problems, I just need more people. You need more innovative ways to solve those historic problems. And so once you've solved it in UBIX, it's solved forever. It continues to evolve and present and everything like that. So it stimulates a center of intelligence, but also a center of innovation, because you can focus those people on building out new problems and solving those. And so it begins this perpetual improvement, perpetual innovation. And demand planning, we talked about some of the benefits there. I know that, Kat, how long am I done? 1 minute, okay. So big outcomes here with demand planning. The supply chain has been very challenging for all of us. There's a ton of low-hanging fruit in this area. Even some of the best supply chain teams and people trying to predict demand in this economy have had challenges, right? We can add a ton of help here with a lot more intelligence. And then what we offer to our Sapphire partners, and I've got my team in the back here, definitely go, and anyone that has a UBIX name on it, definitely go meet them. We're doing innovative things all the time. We're a very fast-growing company. And the focus is we basically, it's important to start now, right? Because there's a huge opportunity cost. The meat example where we saved them $2.6 million, I joke around with that client all the time because it cost them $1 million delaying starting with us because they were implementing something for time and materials, right? And they said, well, we really advanced mundane initiatives over game-changing results, right? And so it's kind of a running joke that we have with them, but that happens all the time. We help you with proof of values, right? But different than in my old consulting days where we issue a nice pretty report, right? You get a fully productionized system that you're working with in UBIX, that you see exactly how it works, exactly the value it's delivering for you, right? So inside of that proof of value, you're a fully implemented system, fully productionized with a use case that solves problems so you can get right into ROI. And then that converts into a subscription agreement. And then to add on to that, we add 90 days of cancellation right? We've had 0 people take us up on that. We've had 100% conversion on POVs, right? So we want that opportunity to work with all of you. And I want to thank Sapphire and for the extra couple minutes. And so I told them that I'm dangerous as far as giving me a time limit, right? 30 minutes is short for me. So I appreciate your time, and I'll try to be less verbose next time. But thank you very much.